Welcome to this special MindShareTV Sneak Peek podcast edition. I'm your host, Robert Martellacci, founder and president of MindShare Learning Media and proud chair of the upcoming 16th Canadian EdTech AI Summit. As we count down to the summit, October 29th to 30th at the University of Toronto Mississauga, the home of generative AI innovator, Dr. Hinton. I'm thrilled to be joined by Duncan Verry, our closing panel keynoter. Duncan plays a pivotal role as portfolio director of EdTech at Hyve Group, the organization behind the Bett and ASU+GSV Summits, very prestigious world's most influencing gatherings, advancing innovation in education, workforce learning, and technology. Duncan, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Robert. It's an absolute pleasure to join with you.
Well, we're thrilled to be partnering with you. You're doing incredible work. As someone who leads two of the world's most influential events, Bett and ASU+GSV, what message or insight are you most excited to share as the closing keynoter at the on the panel at this year's Canadian EdTech AI Summit?
Well, I think the first thing I need to say is I feel so lucky every day that I get to look after the Bett Show, ASU+GSV Summit, and have incredible teams leading those shows. But I get to do really exciting things like this. I get to travel around the world. I've just recently been in Kuala Lumpur with Bett Asia, and I'm coming to Toronto. Really excited about your summit, and I get to speak with you. So I really am pinching myself every day. But we also live in exciting times. I think the adoption of AI across K-12 and HE is offering huge opportunities that we probably, and I've been in EdTech for 15, 20 years, we never expected 5 years ago when we were on the sort of brink of COVID. The speed of adoption of EdTech following COVID was something unique, and it's pushed us on. But now we have the challenge of AI. It's like a weapon of mass production, and I think it's going to save workloads for teachers all around the world, and hopefully just start to ease that global teacher recruitment and retention crisis. And if teachers are persuaded to stay in the profession and use the tech, and their workload and prep is reduced, I think we've got exciting times ahead. The ability for it to personalize learning as well is hugely exciting. So yeah, I'm pinching myself every day that I get to travel around the world and see and meet with people and discuss all of the great things that are happening on a global basis in these current times.
Fascinating. I couldn't agree with you more. It's never been a more exciting time to be in education. And the theme of our summit, empowering human-centered, sustainable learning in an AI-inspired world. With that, you bring a global perspective. How do you see Canadian education innovation fitting into the broader international landscape of AI and digital transformation?
Yeah, I think there are differences in how lots of governments, national and regional, approach delivering education. But through my travels around the world, the challenges they face are very, very similar. Say coming from Bett Asia recently, and there were 6 or 7 different governments involved, and obviously Bett UK is a very international event, and now having experience and access to superintendents in the US. I think a lot of the challenges very, very similar. The reputation of Canadian schooling and universities is of the highest caliber, and you can see that in so many international students that you guys capture, which I think is now capped. But I think there's always an opportunity, more so than perhaps some believe, for edtech companies to create solutions where they might have their domestic market in mind, but they're really portable, transferable solutions to capture global markets, because the challenges of learning and access are so similar everywhere. So I think both the world-class nature of both the Canadian education system, but the pedigree of the startups that come through that system or serve that system, it just has an incredible opportunity on a global basis. And that's another reason for being so excited about coming to meet a lot more of them at your summit in Toronto.
Fascinating. And kudos to you and congratulations on the acquisition, ASU+GSV, and across the pond from where you are in London to North America. That was a recent acquisition. Talk to us a little bit about how that's evolving and what we might expect.
Yeah, I think it's probably important to start with the Hyve business strategy, the
Right.
company that owns Bett and ASU+GSV Summit. We're one of the sort of biggest event organizers in the world. But we don't operate like a lot of other event organizers who will have hundreds of events in their portfolio. Hyve just has about 35 events. So we typically look for the biggest and best of their kind in their sector. You know, we want the marquee events in those sectors of growth. I think our CEO first met Deborah and Michael over 10 years ago. So it was a long courtship, right? It took some time to, for these conversations to start talking about the possibility of an acquisition. But, Bett is a trade show and lots of vendors come and develop huge pipelines of business through the 35,000 unique attendees that we get, 13,000 buyers. They come armed with their budgets, ready to buy solutions that they can implement really quickly in the classroom and in universities and colleges. The ASU+GSV Summit is a unique event of the highest order. I mean, it's such a convening of the thought leaders of innovation and learning and education that I think it's both in terms of the geographic access to the US market that Bett and our EdTech portfolio had always been seeking, but in terms of capturing that thought leadership and innovation space, just takes us to a higher level. So yeah, it's a real jewel in the Hyve portfolio, but certainly the EdTech portfolio as a whole.
Talk to me about the importance of partnerships around that.
Yeah, well, I've mentioned that we face global challenges, and I think we need to connect and collaborate and use our collective strength to solve some of those. Bett is really proud to be part of the UNESCO Digital Education Coalition. So we sit round tables with big companies and talk with UNESCO about some of the global challenges and how we can contribute in our way with our strength to solve some of those. So I think events as a whole have a really important part to play. This feels, and there's some evidence that there's a move to a more sort of hybrid rather than online only advertising. People, I think they call it IRL, these in real life experiences. And these things happen at events. The emotions that are shared at an event, those sort of non-linear conversations. I think we're having a linear conversation now. You speak, I speak. Much the same happens on Zoom calls and team calls every day in every business. But there's something unique when a group of people can have a non-linear conversation and ideas are transferred in a much more sort of iterative way, perhaps more quickly, and there's probably a little bit more confidence in the dialogue from those that might not be as confident online. So yeah, we think the sort of shared purpose and values that are discovered when people come together at an event and form those partnerships is really exciting, and yeah, that's being sort of played out across the world at our events.
Thank you for that. So as we look to future skills and workforce readiness, as the boundaries between education and industry blur, I mean, we're immersed in work and learning every day here at the MindShare Workspace, where we have interns and co-op students, and it's a great partnership we have with the school districts and universities. What trends do you see shaping the future of skill development, career pathways, and lifelong learning in the age of AI?
Yeah, I think it's this is a report that came out from UNESCO actually that about 50 million workers will need to be reskilled. I think they call it the reskilling revolution, and the only way that that can be done at scale and at the speed of change that is happening in terms of the nature of jobs and how technology is impacting upon them. That can only be done through technology, and what we've seen is that lots of companies that may have started in edtech, B2B edtech, or even B2C, have at some point moved into education from B2C, and are now creating enterprise products. So they're thinking about what they've learned through delivering learning solutions at scale in universities and K-12, and now they're starting to put that knowledge and varieties of those products into enterprises for corporate learning. The sort of micro learning and the sort of on-demand content that we're used to now, I think is just freeing up lots of opportunities for companies with that knowledge to help in the sort of workforce learning area. I think it's exciting. I think there's a pressure on universities at the moment to create people to be workforce ready and
Right.
to be employable, and that's a real measurement now as people all over the world sort of choose their university course. But and this is another exciting thing about ASU+GSV, that they have a workforce insight boards, which is a hugely impressive array of senior people that are really trying to shape the future of learning and are tackling some big problems, big challenges that they face about reskilling large scale workforces and how you can do that and put innovation and speed and tech at the heart of that to make that happen. So
At scale.
Yeah, absolutely. It needs to happen. It needs to involve everybody, and yeah, not everyone learns or asks the right questions face to face with a human, and sometimes they might want something that they can pause, repeat, press again, go back to, have a break, think about, and yeah, I think technology is really sort of coming to the fore, and it was really interesting. There's a company that we were potentially working with on as a customer on one of our big events, and Hyve rolled their platform out as a workforce learning platform for us, and it just made me think, okay, yeah, this is happening everywhere, and we're a 700, 800 person organization at Hyve, so sizable, but absolutely thinking about, okay, we need to be putting in these sort of micro learning 90,000 courses, I think it has online, to be available for individuals. So yeah, it's starting to penetrate organizations at every level to give them the speed and access that they need to reskill, improve, and just help the careers of the people that they have.
Fascinating. The careers of the future. There were jobs that didn't exist when I was graduating from university. My first role is a sport information director, managing 45 varsity sports teams. No computer, no internet, and
Yeah,
imagine.
I remember those times. I'm older than I look, Robert. So I
Yes,
remember those times.
but the power and potential is staggering. So when we look at innovation and integrity, considering the theme of our summit about empowering human-centered learning and sustainable learning models, how can we ensure that AI in education evolves responsibly, serving every learner from an equitable perspective while maintaining transparency and trust? It's very complex when you consider these challenges.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've actually been surprised and really encouraged by the speed at which both national and regional governments have moved with producing AI policies for use at school and how they think about the use of tech. But yeah, I think the transparency trust thing and one of the topics around Bett Asia was human-centered learning and human-centered AI products, let's not forget that, you know,
Right.
this the sheer volume of information that is available to us at the speed it's available or is fed to us based on certain decisions is just like something we've never encountered before. And you know, I've got children that concerns me, and you know, you'd want to know that the guardrails are in place, certainly within schools or for
Right.
school users, that this can happen. But I think if the right frameworks and policies are in place, and we do not move away from the fact that critical thinking will become a real superpower for humans in this, we won't have to think too much about, you know, the production of something, the accessing information, but we will need to be able to trust that source itself, and be able to challenge what is produced for us. So I'm hopeful that teachers and schools will lean into that sort of, you know, developing children and students with really strong critical thinking skills, creativity as well, and then I think we've got a chance to make sure we're the ones in control of the technology, and not the dystopian view of it being the other way around.
Well, brilliant. Well said. You know, we really embrace what we call the 7Cs, the C21 Canada, our not-for-profit, and we have a framework for it. So, and critical thinking is very much a part of the framework, along with communication, collaboration, creativity, computer and digital skills. You know, these are durable skills that kids will take with them in the future, and actually, it's imagining assessment as well, isn't it? When we look at the portrait of a graduate is what they talk about in the U.S. We have the 7Cs framework. That's a whole other dimension that we haven't touched on that perhaps we'll draw into the summit. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I would probably add another C to your list. It's comprehensive, because the list is comprehensive, right? I named just two, and I'm glad they matched with two of your seven.
Yeah.
But that's a comprehensive list. But we shouldn't forget some of these skills that are going to be so important to allow us to be able to use tech. And I always talk about, we do a lot of tech training for teachers, which is always free online and at all of our events. But it's always about what I say, making them both competent and confident in using the technology, because people can't be left behind, and we don't want teachers to be left behind. We want them to realize the opportunities that are there, but you know, it has to be sort of led by them, and they have to feel that they're in control and they're sort of getting the benefit and the value from it. So yeah, I absolutely applaud those sort of 7 skills. I think it's super important, and we have to retain that balance. There's a couple of things. We produced a report which we do every year on AI and teachers' use of AI, and a year ago, of the 1,000 teachers, and these are all in the UK. I mean, we're a global organisation, but we use a renowned UK research agency. So a year ago, 31% of teachers were using AI. This year, that's gone up to above 60%. So that's a really encouraging shift. Yeah. So everyone's embracing it, and the policies, and the UK government as an example, but I know other governments around the world are putting in those sort of frameworks and policies. What probably concerned me this year is that 44% of the teachers that are using AI feel like they're cheating. And for me, that feels like a failure of leadership, that they're not creating the right environment to say, no, I know I didn't have it in my day, or we haven't used this before, and typically you've had to sit on a Sunday night and produce your lesson plans, but I'm absolutely encouraging you to use this technology to save you time. So I think there's definitely something around understanding the teacher's role in this sort of human-centered use of technology, and what it can mean for them, for their future.
Absolutely. I have one more C that I came up with this year as my one word hashtag, and that's complexity.
Right.
How does that resonate for you?
Yeah, I think it's daunting for teachers and educators, probably feeling under pressure, and probably recognizing that a lot of the children that they teach are embracing this technology as quickly, or if not quicker, than they are, in terms of social use. Let's not keep adding C's, but probably one that they're always think about is that cheating. They feel like they're cheating
Right.
using it, but they're always mindful of, well, are the children learning, or is this straight from generative AI? I think ultimately, teaching, and actually I have this experience just in the last 2 weeks with my own one of my children who's still at school, where
Mhm.
actually they're now encouraging us to use AI, but are giving examples of the kind of prompts. So don't just type the essay
Right.
question in, ask it questions to help you research more quickly or give perspectives on things. And I think that's if children are going to cheat, they're probably going to cheat. But if you encourage them to use it in the right way, they might find the benefits, and it may just enhance their work. So I think, yeah, a sort of, the genie's out of the bottle now, and finding a way of embracing that and taking some solid steps through that initial complexity. I, I think there will be some real opportunities, and some real major wins gained, and that will only breed confidence to navigate a further path through the inevitable more complexity that's going to come.
Absolutely. So, looking ahead, uh, we've got 13 days to go. So, finally, Duncan, as you prepare to close the summit, what gives you hope about the future of learning, and what role do gatherings like this play in shaping that journey? One of my personal goals, when we look at sustainability, is to develop models for success, looking at use cases from, we've got some 30 plus use cases, a national initiative with our not-for-profit C21 Canada. You're drawing in a global perspective, and we are intentionally bringing together the entire ecosystem, from students to professors and everyone in between in K-12 and higher ed, because that is what I believe is a catalyst to really make sustainable change. It's not just leaders; we need the whole ecosystem represented, and helping crystallize what does a sustainable model look like. When we have a task force report coming out at the summit from K-12, where CIOs, superintendents, and directors are saying, we don't know what this is going to cost us, so we need to figure this out, and how do we make this sustainable and equitable, so all kids have access and can thrive and don't feel guilty about using the technology, because we need to be upskilling teachers and students as well. So, final thoughts.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And one of the highlights for me at the recent Bett Asia event, if I can talk about that one,
Absolutely.
was we had a number of people on some of the roundtables, and our keynote speaker had all worked at either the Asian Development Bank or the World Bank. And they were quite challenging in the way education approaches the challenges it has ahead, saying, look, the World Health Organization has a huge pot of money to deal with global health challenges. It was really, I think, interesting to hear, and for him to sort of, in a really sort of encouraging way, sort of get education to think about how it goes about asking for money. From where it can get money, from governments and world organizations, for the challenges that it faces. So that was exciting. Look, I have hope for the future for because I think let's start with events, because that's my role, and we're going to meet face to face at your fantastic event. What an incredible crucible of innovation and ideas an event is. It's an incredible moment in time to inspire great things for the future, and things that, and relationships and collaborations that can stay with people for throughout the rest of their working career. The AI and the speed of tech development, its ability to overcome learning barriers, I think is hugely exciting. I've seen, I think, special needs education is almost leading the way in how it's using tech now to personalize learning, because they've had to do that for decades. So I think the commitments of governments to embrace this, I think probably born of the COVID experience, there seems a much more joined up approach and seriousness about providing equal access. I think COVID highlighted that technology needed to be embraced, that was forced, but that it was going to be difficult to make that equitable for all. So I think there's some exciting trends developing, and with the sort of speed and the quality of the tech, and I can't wait to meet lots of the Canadian EdTech companies. I think it's just, I keep saying, a really exciting time. I'm privileged to be in my position and get to do these things, but gives me a huge amount of hope for the future.
With that, Duncan Verry, thank you for sharing your global insights, for your inspirational, being a catalyst for innovation and connection in education. We look forward to your powerful closing panel keynote at the Canadian EdTech Summit. Just 13 days to go as we explore the future of human-centered, sustainable learning in an AI-inspired world. To our listeners, don't miss your chance to hear Duncan and a number of other global thought leaders at this national conversation that, in my estimation, is one of the most consequential events in modern education times in Canada. You don't want to miss this, October 29th to 30th at the University of Toronto Mississauga, the home of AI pioneer Dr. Hinton. Until next time, my name is Robert Martellacci, chair of the Canadian EdTech AI Summit, and be sure to keep the learning curve steep.
Thank you, Robert.